Welcome back. It is Thursday, so that means it's time for Talking Kids with Dr. Caitlyn with Lexington pediatrician Dr. Caitlyn Iddings.
Yeah, so today we're talking about hand, foot, and mouth disease in kids, as it's common in kids under 5, but actually anyone can get it. Welcome back, Dr. Caitlyn. We missed you last week. She was on vacay, and you're just part of our morning. And we're glad to have you back.
Glad to be back.
Okay, so let's start. Where do you want to start by talking?
Hand, foot, and hoof disease. Is that what you said?
No, hand, foot, and mouth.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, what is that?
Yeah, so essentially this is a group of viruses. There's multiple strains of it, so you can unfortunately get it more than once in your lifetime if you're unlucky, but usually the first time you get it, it's more common in young kids because it is passed via like what we call oral fecal transmission.
Oh.
So it's a group of a family of viruses called enterovirus, like enterogastrointestinal tract.
Okay.
Another famous virus in that group is polio. So, these viruses tend to come out when the weather gets warmer.
These are heavy hitters then.
Yeah, so they come out when the weather gets warm. They spread through daycares like wildfire just because when you're 2, you have no sense of like, don't share my fluids, right? Like,
Yeah,
you touch
exactly.
your face, touch my face. And so it really plagues daycare centers this time of year. You'll have one kid that get it and it'll just spread through a room. And so daycares are really kind of strict about, you need it. If they think you even have it, they want you to go see your doctor to confirm to see how long you need to be out. So usually it'll start with kind of this weird prodrome phase where the kid just seems like they don't feel good, but there's not really a fever. They're just kind of laying around. They're kind of not their normal self. And then most kids will get a decent high fever with it in the first couple of days, especially if it's the first time they've ever had it. It can be up to 103, 105 Fahrenheit. And then if you bring them in too early, like let's say they just spiked the fever, you bring them in, a lot of times we'll look and we'll be like, everything really looks okay. Maybe the throat looks a little red, but otherwise it's probably just a virus. We'll keep an eye on it. Then usually as the fever starts to break, they'll get these awful blisters in the back of their throat, in their mouth, sometimes around the mouth, and then it'll spread to kind of like the hands and the feet are the more common spot, and they can actually get these fluid-filled blisters on their hands.
And that's kind of where that name comes from those visible.
Yeah. And like I said, there's multiple strains of this. It's a family of viruses, so some are a little less intense, and you'll just get like maybe the mouth sores and a sore throat. Some you'll get it on the hands and the feet, and then there's one that we affectionately like to call hand, foot, mouth, and butt that's just kind of head to toe. And so kids who are kind of have more sensitive skin at baseline, especially kids who have eczema, they're more likely to get like the full-blown thing.
Yes.
And those are the kids that we worry about could get like little secondary skin infections. So we definitely want to keep an eye on those kids that have it kind of more severe.
Yeah. So what do you do if you think your child has this, or what can you do treatment-wise?
So it is a virus, right? And I always tell families, like, I always just called it a virus until my kid got it, and I'm like, no, it's the devil's virus. Like, your kid's gonna feel bad for probably about 5 days. They're gonna wanna be laying around. They're not gonna eat much, but essentially, like I said, the blisters are the worst part because they don't wanna eat or drink, and they have high fever. So the dehydration is the thing we worry about. You wanna make sure you're keeping them hydrated. Don't give them anything spicy, salty, or acidic because it's kind of like a bad pizza burn. You want to do like yogurt or popsicles or things that are kind of calming just to keep them hydrated. So keeping an eye on hydration status. And then supporting them through it, Motrin. Sometimes you can go to the pediatrician if it's really bad and they're not eating. They can give you a little recipe for some like magic mouthwash just to kind of help soothe the throat so they can eat. But for the most part, it's going to be just time, which is, like I said, awful. And then a lot of people don't know that the fluid in the blisters can be contagious. So usually once the fever is gone, they're probably no longer contagious. But if they have those fluid-filled blisters and they're 2 and they're going to go rub it on their friend, then if those pop and that fluid gets out, that can spread. So if they have the blisters, sometimes it won't blister up. It'll just kind of be red splotches. Then they really need to make sure that those have sort of crusted over and healed before they go back to daycare because they can still spread it.
Gotcha. All right, good advice.
Absolutely, Dr. Caitlyn.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all for watching this morning. We are back in just a moment.